Hello developers, I am Nikhil from India and today I will be sharing my knowledge about UI actions in ServiceNow along with basic use case to help you understand their functionality. It may take a bit longer than expected, but stay with me till the end. I promise you will find it worth your time. Let's read the notes that is visible over the screen. First of all, what is an UI action? In ServiceNow, UI actions are customized actions that execute specific scripts or functions when a user interacts with buttons or links on records or list views, whether in the workspace or the platform interface. While talking about use case, for that I have created one custom scope application named Cafeteria Management wherein I am going to add this feature. So when a staff member selects items from the platform menu list, a dialog box should appear allowing them to update the quantity of the selected items before placing the order. Once the staff member submits the order, the system should create an order record along with corresponding order item records that reference both the order and the respective menu items. From the application navigator, search for UI actions that you will find under System Definition Application menu. If you click on that UI action sub-menu, will open the list of existing UI actions for different tables. So from here, we'll create our own UI actions for menu items table. So let's click on new button. We can create different types of UI action depending on business use case. It can be a link or button in the list or in the form. But according to our use case, we are going to create a UI action in the list view, that is list banner button. UI action can execute both server-side or client-side script. For this use case, I am going to create a client-side UI action. Because this is the client-side UI action, we have to define the function in the script field, and that function we have to call from the on-click field of the UI action. Make sure that the function name is correct to call from the onClick field, and in this function I am going to create a variable that stores the list of sysids of the selected menu items from the list view, and from here I will just allot the sysids to verify that it's working. Client list is the client-side API. It has several methods. Here we are using getChecked method, which will retrieve the selected record sysids from the list view. Let's save and ensure my words whether it is working or not. So let's go to the list view and let's refresh it, and let's select some of the items. Let's click on order items. Hooray, it's working. Now we need to create an UI page to display on the model. So from the application navigator, if you search for UI pages under the system UI application menu, you will see UI pages. Click on that, it will open the list of existing UI pages from where you can create your own custom UI page. So let's click on new button to create our own UI page. The name I am going to provide is prepare order items. When you save, it will ask you to provide a rule. Rule is basically for to make accessible make accessible of this UI page. I want to say that the user will have this specific role can access this UI page. Here I am going to add the role from our own application, that is cafeteria management. So here I will select staff role. So it will save now. For this UI page, I would use Angular JS. So we have to set up the Angular JS. This is the place where you can find Angular JS CDN. I'll provide this URL in the description so that it will be easy for you to visit and copy the code of the Angular JS. So from here I will copy the link of any of them. The first one, let me copy the URL and I'll open this URL in another tab, and from here I will copy all the code and I'll go to our ServiceNow platform, and from here I will search for UI scripts. So you could see UI scripts under system UI. Open that, and from this list let's create our UI script. Let's provide the name and in the script field the code which I have copied I will paste here. Save. Please ignore this message. Just click on OK. Now we have successfully created our own library. Let me format the code inside this script field. Let me save. And I will copy the API name to link with our UI page. So in the JavaScript code, I will write G colon requires and name equal to the name of the API dot JSDBX. And I will initiate an AngularJS application and controller to this div element ng app, and this application I haven't created so far. I will create in a few minutes. So okay, so inside this div element I'll create one controller variable called message. Let me create an application This is the application name, and I will initialize into app variable, and let's create controller for this application. App.controller, and this is the controller name, and the second parameter I'm using as an array because I'm saying that I want to inject $scope into this controller. Scope.message is test message. Let me save it. Let's run this UI page by clicking on this endpoint. You can see that it's working perfectly. Let's see how to call this UI page from UI action. For doing so, in an UI action in the script to call the UI page, we have to initialize an object of glide model. So GM equal to new glide model. So in the constructor of this glide model, we have to pass the UI page name and title. I would say prepared order items. Because we have to pass these selected items to the UI page, so we need to use set preference method of the glide model API. So it will take two parameters, the key and the value. The key will be selected items and the value will be our selected item that will be stored into this selected menu items variable. And to display the model, obviously the render method we need to call. Let me copy the name of the UI page and okay, let's save it. Let's go to the list of menu items after saving it. It won't work directly like the UI page. So if I select and click on order items, you could see it is showing the message like this. It means that AngularJS is not working in the model. To make it workable, I'm going to replace this ng-app attribute by id, and then I will go to the client script and then I will call the method of Angular, that is .bootstrap, and I will pass two parameters. The first parameter will be the element. To select the element, I'm going to use dollar, and inside this it will take the id of an element by which I can select the element, and the second parameter I will pass an array by saying that treat this use this application, AngularJS application, for this element. We put the semicolon and let's save it. Now if I'll go to the list view and let's refresh it, Now if I will select items and click on order items, you could see it is showing test message. Now if I will uncheck without selecting, if I click on order items button, see it is working. But it shouldn't happen. On the wake up that I will add the condition here by saying that if we have selected items, then open the only call the UI page in the model. Otherwise, show this alert message. And post showing that alert message, I don't want to execute the script further, so I will put this return keyword and let me save it. Let's go to the list view and check whether it's working or not. Okay, so you could see without selecting item it is showing an error. But if I select an item, it will not show that message. Next is this selected menu items we have to pass to the UI page here. So to retrieve here from the UI action, I will create an glide model object. So here G model equal to glide model dot prototype dot get, and in the get method I will pass UI page name. To retrieve the selected items, uh, let me create a scope variable again, that is scope dot selected items, and in this variable I will initialize the retrieve value, that is selected items. So in this selected items will receive the selected record sys ID. To show the selected sys IDs, I will initialize into this message variable. Let me refresh and let's select items. You could see the selected sys IDs. Now we have selected sys ID of the menu items. We need to fetch the menu item information from the database. For that, I am going to create a client callable script include so that it would be easy to call from the UI page client script through GlideAjax API. So here, the name I'll say prepare order items util, and this will be a client callable. So check this GlideAjax enable and um, let's make it accessible from all application scopes and let's save it. While saving, it will again ask you to add the role to access this script include, means the person who will have this specific role can access this script include. Again I am selecting from my cafeteria management application. Let's select user, or let's select staff role. Now the script include has created. Here I will add function to fetch menu items. Fetch selected menu items. SysID of the selected menu items will receive through Glide Ajax API call. So to access that, we have to call this method get parameter using this property. This refers to the current object in the script include. Now I will write the glide record query to fetch menu item information. So our table name I will copy from here. Let's add the condition using add encoded query, and condition will be sys id is one of because we know that how many items will select. So I want the count of the selected items. In that case, we'll get the value in an string format. So I will convert it into array so that I can easily call the length property of an array to get the count of these selected items. And inside the set limit, I will pass that total IDs. To add the limit to fetch records. As many records I will receive, that many times this while loop will be executed, and I will prepare an object and push into the list, and that list I will return from this function. So this is the list variable, and I will return this list variable, and into this list variable I will push an object. So the first and foremost quantity, by default the default selection for the quantity will be 1. And name, ID, and this is ID. Name, ID, and the price. Sorry. Now I will call this face selected menu items function through the glide edges from the UI page. So let me create one function named init, the function that will be executed as soon as this controller will be initiated. So function init, and all these retrieval things I will wrap inside this init function. And let's write a code to make a glide edX API call. Let's initiate an object of the glide edX API. Inside this glide edX constructor, we have to pass the script include name. We copy the API name. And then to tell that which function we have to call from the through the glide edX API, we have to use this sysparam underscore name parameter, and then to pass the selected menu items, again I'm calling the add param method, and the parameter name I would like to copy from the script include, and the selected items ID I will pass through this parameter. And I'm going to call the get XML answer method of the glide ajax, and will take callback function which will be executed once we'll have the response after glide ajax API call. So the answer which we will receive, the list, I want to store into the scope variable called menu items, so that I can utilize in an HTML in the HTML to display the information of the menu items. So the data we'll receive will be JSON string we have to parse into an object. So I have used json.parse, and to apply in the view we have to call this apply method $scope.apply, and let me log this menu items in the console as well to ensure it's working. Let me save it. Items.length. So let's come to the list view and open the developer tools. Let's refresh the list. Let's select menu items and click on order items. You could see that it is showing 0 and we have error as well. Maybe the apply method, the prefix I have to use before apply, that is dollar. Let me check in the Google. Yes, we have to use the dollar before apply method, and let's save it. Let's again go to the list view and refresh it and select menu items, click on order items. Now you could see two means we have selected two items, so we'll get the information for those two selected menu items. As we are getting menu items after making client Ajax API call into scope.menu items variable, so I'm going to iterate in this HTML to display each item with image, name, price, and quantity. Along with that, we will have the functionality to update the quantity before ordering. As many items we will receive into scope.menu items variable, that many times we'll have to render the div element for each menu item to display the information. For that, I am using ng-repeat directive of AngularJS, and in this item variable from this menu underscore items, one by one element will be assigned to this item variable. And inside this, the first and foremost I will display is the image, and we will get the image data from the photo property of the item object, because that will give us this ID. So to display that, we have to concatenate with .iix and make sure that you are putting this prefix slash by saying that from relative path, and after that general information, that will be the name of the menu and the price, and we'll get the name from this item dot name property, and the price from item dot price. And lastly, actions, where when we'll have the functionality to update the quantity by clicking decreasing or increasing button. In between that, I will show the quantity. Quantity, and then I will add another div to display a button that is for cancelling or for submission to order selected menu items. Here btn dash danger is from the bootstrap class, so it will show the button in tomato color, and the button for order. I have skipped the assistance for CSS code because that is the basic UI developer knowledge, but you could see on the screen the changes which I have done for the CSS. So let me go to the list of menu items and let me select items and let's click on order items. So you could see this is how it is appearing. I'm going to add the function to add or remove quantity for each item when we click on increase or decrease button. So in the button decrease, the function update quantity I will create, and in this function I will pass two parameters. The first parameter, the ID of the item, and the second parameter will be an action that are add or remove. So when we click on decrease button, it will pass this remove action, and if we click on decrement button, then it will pass this action add, and this function I will define in the client script. Scope dot update quantity and the item ID and the action. So if action equal to add, then it will execute the script inside that if block, else it will execute the script inside else block. So what I will do, I have to update the menu items array object. So I'm going to use a map function of an array scope dot map, scope dot menu items dot map, and inside this map function parameter we have to pass the callback function that will be executed for each item, and based on the condition it will return the value. So here I will check if the item ID, when I am iterating array, if it will match with any of the item ID, then what I will do, I will update the quantity for that particular item and then I will return the whole object. Means as we have ID to find the menu item, so it will be easy for us to update the quantity. Let me create one variable updated underscore quantity equal to, I will initialize an object, and for that particular object I will update the quantity, and that updated item I will return. If it will not match with the ID, then will return as it is without updating. In the else block, I will copy the same code to decrease the quantity. One thing I have to do here is, if we try to decrease the quantity, if it is 0, then it shouldn't be happen. It means if the quantity is greater than 0, then only we can decrease. Again we have to call this scope.$apply to reflect in the view. Let's save it and jump to the list view, and let's refresh the list. As you could see, it is working. Now let's add the functionality to cancel and order items. So for cancel and order items, I will define function to cancel. Cancel means to close the model, and order, if we click on order button, then it will order items. Let's go to the client script and define our functions. We don't need this line number 62. Equal to function And to close the model, we have to access an object of the model. So I just want to keep it outside so that I can access in both of the functions. From here, we just have to call the destroy method of the glide model instance. The another method for another function for ordering items. Again, we have to make a glide Ajax API call, as we have to mutate records from the server side script. Let me put the alert to verify whether it's working or not. Nice, it worked successfully. Oh, let me click on order item. We click on order button, not items. Let me prepare the glide Ajax to make a server call in the order items function. I will copy the code from this init function, and here I will change the name of the function which I will use in our script include order items, and here we'll pass the JSON string of menu items array. For now, I don't know how the output will be, so I just want to log the answer in the console. Reduce the length of the video. I've done some changes that in this I would explain here. So here for each item, try to displaying without this dollar symbol, and not only that, you are not calculating the total amount when we were updating the quantity or when we were fetching menu items by making glide API call. So for doing so, I've created one variable called total amount, and that amount will be initialized for the first time when we fetch records that are menu items, and that menu item as an array object will be stored into this variable, and each item has a thread for each method of an array, and based on price and quantity I am calculating and storing into this total amount. Not only that, when we update the quantity by clicking increment or decrement button for each menu item, then this function will be executed, and the menu items a variable of the scope will be updated. So based on price and quantity, again we have to do the calculation to store a new value into total amount variable. And when we order items by clicking on order items button, we are making a glide ajax API call. So in this script include, I have defined a function named order items, and to this function we have to pass selected menu items and the total amount. Let me go to the script include to show you how I have defined the function. So this is the function order items I have defined and selected menu items. If I talk about, then if the value will be null or empty, then the default value it will be initialized by empty array, and the total amount as we are passing by making write ajax API call, and that menu items I am parsing into an object because from the client I am passing JSON string, and I will check if the length is greater than 0, then create order. As soon the order will be created, as many items I will have in this selected menu item, that many times this code will be executed because I have for loop, and for each menu item I will create order item and that will be linked to the order and menu item. And from here I will return JSON by saying that order created, and this is the order number and the URL. And here let me convert into the object so that I can easily read in console screen.